that footy journey obviously led to a pretty strange one in the end for you. Gold Coast 2013 to 2016.
Strange one.
Well, it was because he was first selection in the mini draft, which
yeah.
obviously is not quite normal. So talk us through that period, because that's not the traditional sort of draft or experience you probably would have, or you might have expected at the time, obviously. But
yeah, so because of the two expansion teams, they had what they called a mini draft. So it was to get them access to 17-year-olds. And then, so I basically finished high school at Corpus, did year 12, got through that. I was down at, what they call it Levers over here, schoolies in the eastern states. And I was down in Dunsborough with mates, and then found out that I actually knew pretty early that I was going to go to the Gold Coast, but then GWS last minute tried to get involved and get me to the Giants. So at the end of that stage, there was a little bit got to play out, and then the AFL came in and they blocked that deal getting done. So I ended up going to the Gold Coast. But I also did as an AIS athlete, you get to train a week with an AFL club, and I got to train with Freo. So I got just over a week's training with Freo, and being from the country as a 16-year-old, I got to stay with David Mundy for 3 nights.
So good.
Cool. And then I also stayed a few nights with Aaron Sandilands. So that was I was 16, getting to stay with 2 legends of the footy club and extremely good players at AFL level. So that was just awesome. And then, I always had in the back of my mind, it'd be cool to play for Freo if I ever was to come home and play. It's worked out pretty well.
Talk us through when that trade went through from Hawthorn to Freo.
Yeah, so wasn't expecting that one at all either. So it all kind of, it's all been publicly written anyway.
What am I allowed to say?
Yeah, so I was at my best mate's wedding in Sydney, Steve Canelio, and then Jason McCartney. He's a list manager at the Giants, and I feel like every year he's whenever I've bumped into him, he's always been like, what are the chances getting you here, blah blah blah, your best mate's here. Like, yeah, mate, but nothing really eventuated. And then so I had the wedding, and then I was on the flight back a couple of days later to Perth with my wife Tori, and get a text from my manager saying the Giants have offered you 4 years, and I still had a year left on my contract to the Hawks. So I was just expecting to come home for the off season, get stuck into my off season training program, and be back at the Hawks next year. And then had the 4-year offer from the Giants, and I was like, well, what the hell? I've got obviously got the 1-year deal left at Hawthorn, but 4 on the table from the Giants. And it didn't, other than going to play with my best mate, it didn't really make a lot of sense. The cost of living in Sydney is really expensive. I knew that I wanted to come back to WA once my footy career was finished. I'd bought a house back here, renting it out with the plan to move into it after my time at Hawthorn was done. And then I think Freo got wind of the deal with the Giants, and then so they've offered me a contract as well. But all this is happening only 2 or 3 days before the trade period actually started. So
wow.
I've only got small amount of time to decide what I'm doing. And then eventually I was like, my father-in-law Ron, who's passed away now, may he rest in peace. He was battling a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so cancer, at the time as well. So Tori was having to travel to Melbourne and back a lot with him going through that battle. This is her dad, so it was a rough period of time for us, and it just made a whole lot of sense to come back home. We had that going on, and I didn't want to make her, choose between me or him where she spent her time, because she obviously wanted to be around me because I make her happy, but then she's also got her father who's on his deathbed as well. So I'm so grateful for Freo bringing me back home and being able to spend the time with him, because we got the last 3 months of his life and we're able to spend a lot of time with him by his bedside. So wouldn't change it for the world, and I'm so stoked to be back around family and playing for this great footy club. We've got some amazing people at the club, and feels like a real special group as well, that we can, we've got the talent here, but also the hard work to match it. It's been really cool to be back home, and hopefully we can bring a premiership to our Freo faithful as well.
Yes.